The member for Hastings.
Thank you, Speaker, and I rise to give my contribution to the Corrections Legislation Amendment Bill of 2025, which seeks to make changes to the Serious Offenders Act of 2018 and the Sex Offenders Registration Act of 2004, and addresses provisions of the Corrections Act of 1986 that are not operating as originally intended. I think this is a good bill, and unlike the member for Kew, who thinks it doesn't address the issues that we currently are facing or present custodial officers are facing, it absolutely does. This bill is about their safety, their health, their well-being, and also their mental health and well-being, and therefore it stretches out to their families. Because if a prison officer is coming home from work or stressed and anxious, etc., it's not good for their relationships at home. And going to work stressed, anxious, concerned, worried or frightened is not what we want people to be doing when they're doing such an amazing and important job. So I believe this bill does exactly what the community would expect from a responsible government. It strengthens the way we manage serious offenders once they've served their time. It ensures our laws are doing what they were always meant to do. And it sends a clear message that violence against custodial officers is never acceptable. Through these reforms, the bill delivers on several key recommendations from the review of the Serious Offenders Act 2018, reinforcing our post-sentence scheme to make sure it's working properly and protecting the public. These laws are about managing the ongoing risk posed by a small number of serious offenders, people who have committed some of the most serious crimes, and ensuring we continue to keep a close eye on them after they've left the prison system. I think handcuffing anyone for 3 months is not really focusing on the rehabilitation and the humanity that we should be focusing on with people in prison. When it comes to public safety, we can't afford to take chances. This legislation makes sure our monitoring systems are strong, our laws are clear and the community remains protected. And one of the most important parts of this bill is the tougher response to assaults on custodial officers, prison officers. These are people doing incredibly hard and often unseen work, managing some of the most complex and dangerous individuals in our prison system. I don't know how they do it, and I'm very, very glad and grateful for the work and commitment that they do each and every day and each and every night. Unfortunately, the data shows that too many assaults on these workers haven't resulted in further time being added to the offender's sentence, and that's not good enough. It sends the wrong message and doesn't reflect the seriousness of the work our prison officers do every single day. This bill changes that. It strengthens sentencing outcomes for people in prison who cause injury to custodial staff, making it clear that violence in our prison system is unacceptable and there will be consequences. The bill also updates reporting requirements under the Sex Offenders Registration Act, making sure serious sex offenders in the post-sentence scheme continue to be subject to the appropriate levels of oversight. And on top of all that, it makes a series of smaller but important technical amendments to ensure the Corrections Act is working as it should be. Things like clarifying parole provisions and fixing unintended issues with the original legislation. What gives me confidence in this bill, Acting Speaker, is the extensive consultation that's taken place to get it right. The Department of Justice and Community Safety has worked closely with stakeholders right across the justice system, from Corrections Victoria and Victoria Police to the Adult Parole Board, courts, health services and Aboriginal Justice Caucus. That broad support reflects the real need for these reforms and the thoughtful work that has gone into them. I thank those that have done this crucial work to ensure that all the relevant bodies understand what is being changed. And just delving a little bit deep into some of the changes that I mentioned earlier, the Sex Offenders Registration Act is a really important tool to help keep the community safe. It means people who have committed sexual offences have to report certain details to Victoria Police, like where they live, where they work, and if they wish to travel, and where they're going to travel. This helps police keep track of them and track of them and step in early if needed, reducing the risk of further harm to the community. This bill also strengthens those rules, especially for people who are also on a post-sentence order under the Serious Offenders Act. These are people who have already served their time, but a court has decided they still pose a risk to the community. Under the changes, people in a post-sentence order for a serious sex offence will need to report their details for the entire time under the order and then continue to report their details for a further period of 5 years. That's a big improvement, Acting Speaker. It closes the gap that could appear once a post-sentence order finishes and ensures Victoria Police can keep monitoring high-risk individuals for longer. It also gives more peace of mind to the community, knowing that the people who pose the highest risks are still being monitored and watched, and the community is kept safe. These changes are all about keeping people safe and making sure the system keeps working even after someone finishes their prison time and supervision. It's a smart move that shows we're serious about protecting the community from further harm. Now, when it comes to protecting our hardworking prison officers or custodial staff, this bill sets out to do just that, as I mentioned earlier. Between the start of 2024 and March 2025, there were around 330 assaults on prison staff across Victoria. While the majority of these incidents were about 62% didn't result in physical injury, they still involved troubling behaviour like shoving, throwing food or water or spitting, still behaviour that is unacceptable and causes stress and emotional harm to our workers. Unfortunately, there were also 5 cases where prison officers were hurt badly enough to have to go to hospital and required treatment. These attacks have serious consequences beyond the immediate harm. Prison officers often face ongoing physical and mental health challenges after such incidents. The costs involved with medical treatment and rehabilitation can also be significant. On top of this, repeated assaults make it harder for staff to feel safe and secure whilst doing such an important job. Feeling safe at work is a basic right for everyone. That's why we are putting this bill forward to toughen up the penalties for people in prison who cause injury to custodial officers. The goal is clear: to protect the hardworking officers who keep our correctional facilities running safely and to deter violent behaviour within prisons. Currently, the legal system around sentencing for these offences is a little bit unclear. The Sentencing Act says that prison offences, which are offences committed by someone already in prison, should generally be added on top of their existing sentence. However, there's been some uncertainty about whether offences involving causing injury to prison officers fall into this category. Now, and because of this ambiguity, courts have sometimes handed down concurrent sentences, which means the new offence is served at the same time as the original. This bill fixes that loophole by making it clear that offences causing injury to prison staff are indeed prison offences, and as a result, these offences should lead to extra time being added to their original prison term, unless, of course, there are exceptional circumstances. This change will make sure that prisoners who assault custodial officers and cause injury face tougher and more appropriate consequences. And that's really the key word there, consequences. Knowing that they will serve extra time really should be a deterrent to causing one would like that they didn't cause any injury at all to custodial officers, but knowing that there are severe, hard, real consequences should deter people from making the wrong decisions. These reforms send a strong and important message. Assaulting prison officers is completely unacceptable and will be met with serious punishment. Protecting the safety and well-being of our corrections workforce is essential, and this bill is a step forward in ensuring that those who harm prison staff are held fully accountable for their actions and appropriately dealt with. By making the legal framework clearer and more consistent, this legislation also gives custodial staff more confidence that if something happens to them, the justice system will take it seriously. In the very short time that I have left, I've just wanted to quickly outline that they've spent $727 million in new funding for the corrections and youth justice system to ramp up capacity. Some of that funding will go to getting 700 new staff. We've also got extra capacity of 1,000 maximum security beds in the corrections system. Quite frankly, the Allan Labor government is doing what is needed to keep the community safe. I commend the bill to the House.
Call the